Hey y'all, it's Stacey. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today we are combining two of my favorite southern things, fried green tomatoes and fried okra, into one with these fried green tomato okra fritters. I know it's a mouthful, but trust me, these are so delicious. Let me show you how easy it is to put these together. In a large bowl here, I've got half a cup of plain all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add 1 cup of self-rising cornmeal. Now, self-rising cornmeal, not cornmeal mix, not plain cornmeal, self-rising cornmeal. You'll find that there are different things in the grocery store on that shelf. Make sure what you're buying for this is self-rising cornmeal. To this, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt, about half a teaspoon of black pepper, and about a teaspoon of garlic powder. What we're going to do is just whisk all of our dry ingredients together here. If I can get the lid back on the garlic powder. All right, whisk that together. To this, I'm going to add, I've got about a half a pound of okra where I cut the stem and the tip of the okra off and just coarsely chopped it. I'm using fresh okra. You could use frozen okra if you can't get your hands on fresh okra. Just make sure that you thaw it and allow it to drain really well. I've also got 1 green tomato here that I've coarsely chopped. And I've got about half of a sweet onion that I've finely diced. I'm just going to add this all to the mix here. I'm going to swap my whisk out for a spoon. We're just going to kind of coat the vegetables in this dry mixture. Next, in a small bowl, I've got 1 large egg. I'm going to add about a half a cup of buttermilk. Now what's going to happen is the acid in the buttermilk is going to react with the baking powder that's in the self-rising cornmeal and make these a little lighter, give them a little lift. I'm going to add this to our mix here. Just stir this together. Now, this takes a little work here because there's not a lot of moisture in this. We don't want it so runny that it's like pancakes. We want it enough to where it's going to hold together once we put it in the oil, but that it's not so liquidy that it's just going to flatten out like a pancake. You can see there it's thick. It's got everything nice and coated. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, sometimes with this kind of stuff, depending on exactly how you measured the flour or how you measured your self-rising cornmeal, you may have to add a little more dry or a little more wet to get to the right texture. It's just about knowing kind of what we want this to look like. So you can look at that and you can see kind of the texture that we're expecting. All right, I've got a large skillet here that I've put about 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil in there. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna scoop up kind of a heaping tablespoon of this mixture, and it's gonna go right into our grease here. Now, don't worry about trying to get it too flat right now. We're going to when we flip them, we're gonna flatten these out a little bit. So it's just a matter of spooning this right into our mixture. We can probably fit 4 or 5 of these in our skillet at one time. The oil is about 350 degrees. That's usually a good frying temperature for things like this. We're gonna cook these for 4 to 5 minutes on this side until they get nice golden brown, and then we're gonna flip them. All right, so these have been cooking for about 4.5 minutes, and I think it's time to flip these. Now, this is a little challenging. Just go ahead and convince yourself that the first couple may not look beautiful because there's a little finesse to this. I use my finger like this, and remember, we always want to flip away from us. We don't want to splash grease toward us. So I'm just doing like that and just holding it and just flipping it right over. Now, when we flip it, if we find that there's a lot of batter or dough right there, we can kind of press it down just a little bit with the back of our spatula, just to make sure we're getting lots of contact with that hot surface, and to make sure that we're cooking these all the way through, that we don't end up with raw batter right in the middle of these. We're gonna cook these for about 4 minutes on the other side, and then it's time to eat. All right, so these have been cooking for about 4 minutes on the other side as well. They're nice and golden brown. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna work in batches, cooking 4 or 5 of these, just depending on how big your pan is, until you get them all cooked. I would recommend let them cool a little and taste them and adjust the seasoning, because now's an opportunity that if you need to add some more salt to them, you could do that there. I also like to take them as soon as they come out of the oil and sprinkle a little Creole seasoning or something like that on them. They're great served just by themselves. You could serve them alongside some ranch dressing, some comeback sauce. You know, there's just so many options with these. They're nice, tasty, golden brown. You've got those big pieces of green tomato in there, so you're gonna get that tart and then the delicious flavor of the okra. I'm gonna try these, but we're gonna have to give them a second because they're so hot. Hang on. All right, so I've allowed these to cool because, you know, nothing is attractive about throwing a hot piece of fritter in your mouth and having to spit it out somewhere. Look, you can see just how delicious these are. You've got those big chunks of tomato, okra in there. Again, these are great with like a comeback sauce with ranch, or they're great just by themselves. Folks, you can find this super easy recipe on my website, southernbite.com. Just search for okra green tomato fritters. Y'all enjoy. It's like the most delicious hush puppy ever.